My name is Floyd Miles. I was born and raised in Harlem, New York City. I am currently serving as the director of the San Antonio Teen Challenge for Men. Growing up in New York City, of course, it was tough growing up in the '60s in Harlem. My dad was a heroin addict for over 20 years. My mother was a heroin addict as well. As a matter of fact, my mother died from heroin at the age of 28 years old. I didn't learn that until I was older in life. I was always told that she had a heart attack, but I kind of put one and one together and realized that it was drugs. My father introduced my mother to drugs. As a matter of fact, when she passed away, he was in jail. My grandmother wouldn't allow him to come to the funeral. My dad was a heroin addict for 20 years. When I used to see him on the streets of New York City, he would run away from me because he was just so tattered and beat down as an addict. I remember hanging out on the stoop in Harlem one day with my friends, and I saw this well-dressed man approach me, and it was my dad, and he took me upstairs and told my grandmother that he had given his life to Jesus Christ through the ministry of Teen Challenge. He was engaged to a wonderful, wonderful Christian woman. My drug of choice was cocaine and angel dust, and my dad was a heroin addict. And I used to look down on him. I used to think I didn't need Jesus because I was not an ivory drug user. But we all need Jesus. The Bible says we all fall short of the glory of God. But I would eventually go into Teen Challenge. When my dad came into my life, I was just, running the street, was pretty much an adult child because I could do whatever I want. I dropped out of school and my life just began to unravel, and I would eventually wind up living for a short while in an abandoned building. And I remember crying out to God. The psalm that comes to my mind is Psalms 40 when it says, "I waited patiently for the Lord, and he heard my cry, and he reached down and he brought me out of a horrible pit, and he set my feet upon a rock." My dad was telling me about Teen Challenge all those years, but like I said, I didn't think it was for me. But because my luck turned for the worse, I had enrolled in the Air Force, and that bottomed out. I would eventually go to Teen Challenge. Even though God had given me my dad back through Teen Challenge, unfortunately, I had to go through Teen Challenge. And my sister today, who is a minister of the gospel, she's a graduate of the Philadelphia Teen Challenge. But we thank God for breaking that generational curse in our family by our dad getting saved through the ministry of Teen Challenge. I think if Teen Challenge was not available to me, that I would have died, or my future would have been very bleak and hopeless. What I love about Teen Challenge is that it's just relevant to the type of people that I was. They specialize in reaching out to people who use drugs, the drug culture people, the street people. I think had I not gone through Teen Challenge, had my dad not gone through Teen Challenge, that we would have continued to be on that cycle of addiction and poverty and a life that would have been less than mediocre. But I thank God for the ministry of Teen Challenge. It's the greatest thing that ever happened in my life, hands down. My accepting Jesus Christ into my life, my decision to go into Teen Challenge, and of course my wife, who I married and been married to for 32 years, best decisions I ever made in my life.